And Ryan Hollins, it sure appears that JJ Redick is on the verge of being the next head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, there's some audio that I want to play that occurred earlier today on Fox Sports Radio, and it was NBA insider Chris Haynes talking to Dan Patrick on the Dan Patrick Show about JJ Redick's future likelihood of being the leader of the Lakers.
I would be very surprised if their next head coach is anybody but JJ Redick. Everything that I'm hearing is JJ Redick. And from what I know, he's doing some background, calling some candidates, some assistant coaching candidates who might be able to join his staff or might not be able to join his staff. And so I'm pretty positive it'll be JJ.
So it sure feels like it's trending that way, and the NBA doesn't want any announcements to maybe overshadow the games that are going on, even though the Wizards gave Brian Keefe the full-time job yesterday. Haynes, I think, said that you could see JJ Redick getting the official hire after the NBA Finals. Are you surprised that JJ Redick is on the verge of being the next coach of the Lakers?
No, not at all. It shows the value that LeBron has still. Whether you want to fight it or not, he's the best player on that roster. And he's a guy, and he's shown that he's got a lot of legs left. And in all reality, when we look at the business of basketball, LeBron James means so much to the Lakers. And, again, he still gives them that national notoriety. And right now for JJ, I think the challenge when you're coaching LeBron, and I played with JJ. I played against LeBron. I played against him several years in playoff situations, high-pressure situations. You got to have a coach that's willing to tell him when to get out of his own way, and in certain moments to allow the coach to be the coach, because LeBron is that smart. And JJ's a very, very high IQ, very meticulous about the game of basketball because he had to be. So when I'm seeing that pairing, he's a guy, in so many words, that's going to be able to tell LeBron when to shut up and to let him do his job. And I guess the challenge is, well, he's a first-time head coach. He's never done it. 2 words, Steve Kerr. Right? Steve Kerr had a lot of success for his first time, came out of the booth, was also a shooter, a guy who played his role and had to know how to do the little things. So I do think that JJ is going to be able to have success. And I think with LeBron and the Lakers, the challenges for them was never that. In my opinion, Darvin Ham did a heck of a job. In my opinion, and Dan, you know how I feel about this, they've had roster problems. They didn't have a roster that fit. It's not like there's this all-star roster of role players and fit and proven guys that Darvin Ham came in and messed up. So in all reality, I think JJ's going to have a chance to do his best job, and it's absolutely a LeBron hire. Now, fun fact, I'd like to see Dan –
That's
Dan,
okay.
I know you're ready to go. I'd like to see if they keep their podcast going. This would be a first. Why not, man? Players have podcasts. We're seeing everything.
Well, we heck, you and I were together a week or two ago, and it was on the heels of Doug getting the job at Green Bay. And there was so much criticism towards Doug's way. And I get it. Doug can be polarizing. Some people don't like Doug's opinions at times. And I felt that Doug was an easy target. But Doug has been connected to the game ever since he was, he came out of the womb, basically. And he has stayed connected. And even though he's been in the media, he stayed connected to the game. And I think that JJ Redick has, when his playing days were over, he stayed connected to the game. And you mentioned Steve Kerr as a guy who made the transition. Steve Kerr also spent time in an NBA front office, so there was some familiarity there. It's not completely out of the realm of possibility or way out of nowhere that a player ends up transitioning or a former player transitions to a head coach pretty early in his career. And we've actually seen it before in the NBA. So to your point about that, Ryan, I don't disagree with at all. There have actually been a couple of guys. Derek Fisher did so. Very underwhelming performance with the New York Knicks when Phil Jackson was leading that front office. So that didn't necessarily work. Steve Nash in the Brooklyn Nets. And that was the time when Kyrie Irving said, we don't really need a head coach. We don't need a head coach at all because
we're all the head coach.
Yes, right. So there's situation number 2 that maybe wasn't great. Vinny Del Negro made a similar transition. Mark Jackson, the guy that Steve Kerr replaced, ended up making a transition from being a former player to all of a sudden then being a head coach. So we've seen it before. So I don't want to pile on JJ Redick in that way because this isn't new. It's just the fact that LeBron likes JJ Redick right now. That is what it is. Where they can get along, like even on their podcast. And this is where I disagree with you, Ryan. Is there's this when they're doing their back and forth on their podcast, LeBron is still king. Like there is a point. In fact, we have audio of this. Do we have it, Jason? Of the point where Jason Stewart uses this mark in history, the point where Darvin Ham lost his job and JJ Redick earned his, occurred on the podcast between LeBron James and JJ Redick about a month or 6 weeks ago. Listen to this audio.
Has any coach, front office person, analytics person, like on staff, have they ever came to you and talked to you about analytics and shot profile with you?
No.
Never had that discussion?
No.
All right. So I just want to say this. When we sat down to do this show today, Jason Stewart sent out an email. We're exchanging ideas. We're exchanging texts. You know what we're going to talk about in 20 minutes? I know what we're going to talk about in 20 minutes. That question by JJ Redick was not just let me throw this on LeBron. That is JJ Redick driving the bus completely over Darvin Ham and driving it into the Lakers front office, into Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss's office, and saying, make me the head coach. Like it's such a setup. And that's the problem with it. It's the JJ Redick may be qualified, but the only qualification that is needed for the Lakers job is if LeBron James likes you. And that's the problem that I have with it.
Why do you have a problem with that?
Because it hasn't worked. Because, I mean, LeBron James wanted Darvin Ham. Guess what? As soon as it didn't work, Darvin Ham's out. And I think Laker fans are trying to massage this and say, let's try something different. Let's do something different. Doesn't matter if it's different or the same. All that matters is that LeBron gets his way. And it also makes all of the talk about the Phoenix Suns and him possibly opting out and going to another team even more ridiculous if JJ Redick is about to be the coach after the NBA Finals, whenever they end up ending. Because is JJ Redick really taking the Lakers' job if LeBron James isn't there? I don't think
Probably
so.
Not.
No,
probably not.
No. So it's a LeBron-driven decision. When again it was said LeBron James didn't have any input into who the hire is going to be, yet it happens to be the co-host of the podcast that they have launched over the last couple of months. It's the only qualification JJ Redick needs.
Now, I feel like he had input with Darvin Ham, but do we know that he was the driving force in hiring Darvin Ham? You know, I would challenge that. Does LeBron have input? Yeah, of course. He'd be crazy not to have input at his age and with the impact that he's had. But at the end of the day, yeah, you got to have somebody on the same page. I played for Tyronn Lue. I played for Ty with the Celtics. He was the assistant there and then the assistant again in L.A. And the one thing about Ty is I've seen him tell Kevin Garnett, hey, be quiet and listen to what the game plan is. Hey, Paul, you're not playing hard enough right now. So I know he had to respect LeBron, and we've seen him speak his mind. Ty played with Kobe, played with MJ. You know, he had the rapport to be able to speak his mind. And I think the best thing that I see from JJ Redick is he's going to be able to tell LeBron when he's sandbagging. Now, in all reality, have we seen, and I can't speak to coach, have we seen LeBron pick players and then after he's picked the players said, well, I don't like playing with him anymore. It didn't work. It wasn't my fault. It was his. Absolutely. You know, since LeBron made the decision, he has made a mindset from him and his team to not be thrown under the bus in the media or things not to be his fault and to fix those narratives. So you're absolutely correct there. And I think for LeBron, if things go sour, he's going to have to earn this. He's going to have to, own this. He's going to have to 100% own this thing with JJ Redick. But with all due respect, I do like the hire, and you got to see it work. And you're right. When you talk about the Nets doing it and, you know, Kyrie going, hey, we're all the coach, and Steve Nash is going to, you know, do the deal there. It didn't work out. So LeBron is going to have to make things happen.
Why do you think JJ Redick has the ability to tell LeBron no when really no one has been able to when I played with JJ's always been a straight shooter.
He's always been a guy who can speak his mind, and he has a lot of respect and had respect in the locker rooms that I've been with. I've known JJ since we were playing 19 and under USA basketball. And he was a guy who always, held his own amongst the best. And for those who may not know or too young to remember, JJ, the Lakers' job, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, probably the most highly scrutinized coaching seat in the world outside of the Dallas Cowboys head coach, right?
Yep.
Hand in hand, right? JJ Redick, as a collegiate basketball player, was arguably the most criticized player, the most challenged player that we've ever seen in the NCAA ranks, right? He's a Duke Blue Devil. He's a shooter. And the challenge was, is he going to be a good player in the NBA? And that rode him all the way through till today almost. So is he used to scrutiny? Yes. Is he going to be able to speak his mind with LeBron? Yes. The biggest challenge will make me feel comfortable for success for JJ Redick is who he hires. And if the Lakers go on and they bring in, as the assistant coach, a big name, you also know that's their plan B getting set up. And if it's somebody that JJ did not hire, that will tell you everything that you need to know.
When the Lakers had made their hires, when Frank Vogel, was brought in and he's filling out his staff, same thing, right? You're bringing in guys that you feel that are notable names can help you out. Darvin Ham brought in. I did think for a time that maybe they were trying to position to Giannis in trying to lure him with his free agency, that you would have Darvin Ham, his former coach, be a member there. And this also on the heels of Jason Kidd being a Lakers assistant under Frank Vogel at that time, and in that relationship. And you talk about filling out staffs and having familiar names and popular names. Jason Kidd and Frank Vogel with the Lakers can be that same deal. I get all that. The JJ Redick hire is only so outside the box is because these two host a podcast. It's because it's true. It's true. Like honestly, and that's why you can't believe that LeBron didn't have any say in it when he's sipping
100%.
wine and talking with him across the table. I think he's a great mind, and I think that JJ Redick does a really good job on TV, does a really good job on articulating his point. And we've seen in his The Old Man and the Three podcast throughout the years, does a great job communicating with former and current players and actually talking basketball. But that's why he got the job. It's true, because LeBron picks who he wants to pick. And LeBron likes the guy that he's sipping wine with across the table as they're talking in the microphones, and letting him and leading him into a question so LeBron can answer it, which, by the way, was just an awful way to throw the front office and head coach under the bus in terms of talking about that while making, my goodness, we have not tapped into the mind of LeBron James. Oh, my goodness, no wonder why you should be fired. You should be fired right now. And that was delivered by the guy that's about to become the next head coach of the Lakers. If we do this to reveal the curtain a little bit, Jason Stewart will ask me. He'll ask you, Ryan, anything you hot on today, right? I mean, that's what's put on. Anything that strikes you, that's what ends up happening. And so that audio there that we played, that wasn't just out of nowhere. We're JJ's wait a sec, I should ask LeBron if anybody's ever talked about him with analytics. It's all contrived. It's all put together. JJ Redick's resume to the Lakers could be on a Post-it note, because all it says is JJ Redick, 3-Point Way, Los Angeles, California, and then it would say experience, knows LeBron James. You hand that Post-it note in, and that is how you get the job, because that is how it's happening. And by the way, this is not meant to discredit the qualities and the abilities and the experience that JJ
kind of sounds like it, Dan. It kind of sounds like that's exactly what you're doing right now, Dan.
But it's the only reason that he has the job. They could go through all of this stuff. Sam Cassell is probably the more qualified candidate. James Borrego has got previous head coaching experience, but this is the guy that LeBron wants, and so that's the guy that LeBron's going to get.
I mean, I know you and I know Jason. That's why I'm on the show, kind of. It's not what you know, it's who you know. I mean, Dan Beyer.
Yes,
I know Dan Beyer.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm here right now.
My pull right now with a 7-footer who's dominated the airways for the last 5 to 10 years. And, of course, sat in front of me when I got those really good Mavericks tickets about 10, 15 years ago. I've told this story. I know Ryan's heard it before, but I took my cousin to a Mavericks game in Dallas, and we were second row beyond the Mavericks bench. And then Hollins was, like, blocking my view for half the game, but what was I going to do? You know, I wanted to sit close to Mark Cuban. He didn't even show up for the game.
Did I have like an exchange with you? Like, because I've had a few exchanges where it's like, hey, can you sit down? And it's like, shove it, Dan Beyer. I will not sit down, Dan Beyer.
The best is when you went into the game, though. Like, you know, like, yeah, all right, Hollins is in. All right, we can see what's happening. Finally. Hit him up at The Ryan Hollins. You can find me at Dan Beyer on